let's talk about it. Hillary, I will be happy to provide you with the information about all the spending that we do. Now, let's talk about Ronald Reagan. What you just repeated here today is patent. Wait, no, Hillary, you just spoke.
I did not say anything about Ronald Reagan. You said two things. You talked about admiring Ronald Reagan, and you talked about the ideas of the Republicans. I didn't talk about Ronald Reagan.
We just have the tape. You just said that I complimented the Republican ideas. That is not true. What I said, and I will provide you with the quote. What I said is that Ronald Reagan was a transformative political figure because he was able to get Democrats to vote against their economic interests to form a majority to push through their agenda, an agenda that I objected to because while I was working on those streets, watching those folks see their jobs shipped overseas, you were a corporate lawyer sitting on the board of Walmart. I was fighting these fights. But I want to be clear. So I want to be clear. What I said had nothing to do with their policies. I spent a lifetime fighting against Ronald Reagan's policies. But what I did say is that we have to be thinking in the same transformative way about our Democratic agenda. We've got to appeal to independents and Republicans in order to build a working majority to move an agenda forward. That is what I said. Now, you can dispute that, but let me finish. Hillary, you went on for 2 minutes. Let me finish. The irony of this is that you provided much more fulsome praise of Ronald Reagan in a book by Tom Brokaw that's being published right now, as did Bill Clinton in the past. So these are the kinds of political games that we are accustomed to.
You filthy Reagan lover. You filthy Reagan lover. See, I told the caller yesterday, and I told all the callers yesterday, that Barack Obama never said that he was for Reagan's policies, that he thought that Ronald Reagan was a transformative politician, and he went even further to say that Ronald Reagan literally got Democrats to vote against their own best economic interests and moved his voodoo economic agenda forward by doing that, and that was because of his talent as a politician, not because of his policies being good. I got to tell you, I kept score last night. Both of them had trouble, but I guess the bottom of the barrel, you filthy Reagan lover, she said. I mean, it's incredible. Look, they were actually using Ronald Reagan as an insult, which is good. That's good for the Democratic Party. Maybe we shouldn't even be saying Ronald Reagan on TV, at least in Democratic circles where it's considered an obscenity. Maybe they should just refer to it as the R word. Because Ronald Reagan was mentioned in our debate last night almost as much as it is in the Republicans' debate. But, Barack shouldn't have brought up Reagan's name during the interview with the Reno paper. There's a lesson here. Democrats should avoid mentioning Reagan the way that Republicans avoid mentioning George Bush. But Hillary, bad. Very bad girl, I thought. Very bad, distorting what he said. I knew she would. He defended himself yesterday. Meanwhile, we're all going broke. We're all going broke. Ain't this fun? Yes, we'll get back down to it was a smackdown last night is what it was. And poor John Edwards. Poor John Edwards trying to stay above the fray. His problem is that he's in danger of sinking beneath the fray. He has to get into the fray. So I think it dawned on him about halfway through that he needed to get into the fray, and so fray he did. He got into the fray. He attacked Barack. Poor Barack, standing in the middle. Hillary screaming, "You represented a slumlord," and Edwards on the other side going, "You voted for the credit card companies? Oh, man." Like he didn't know. But of course, Barack Obama did, in fact, vote against the bankruptcy bill, and Hillary voted for the first bankruptcy bill in 2001 and then against the second bankruptcy bill, making it harder for you to declare bankruptcy. She voted against it in 2005. John Edwards voted for it. It's kind of fascinating when you look at their records, but it was a smackdown. If that had been a boxing match, they would have had Don King calling it murder in Myrtle Beach. Because Thriller doesn't rhyme with Myrtle Beach. That's why. But, I mean, are they on performance-enhancing drugs, those people? I mean, they went after each other. It was great television. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was almost like sports, man, and I was so good, because I think a lot of people watched it last night because it's on basic cable. CNN is basic cable, where the other cable channels aren't. And so I think a lot more people watched that thing last night. And, I mean, it was exciting, and that's good for politics. I got to admit, That's really good for politics. But, I mean, why don't they just get it over with and put John Edwards in the referee shirt and give him the whistle? Because that's what he's there for, you know, and let him call the penalties. Unnecessary roughness, offensive, illegal use of Ronald Reagan's name, Democrats, you know. I mean, there was pass interference last night. It was incredible. You know, they would, like, pass a question to John Edwards, and somehow it would end up between Hillary and Barack, no matter what they did, you know, and you know, out of bounds for Wolf, quite frankly, who, you know, he couldn't get them to fight about race and gender, Hillary and Barack, so he decided to egg them on. And you know, actually quoted Toni Morrison to Barack Obama last night and said, Bill Clinton is the first black president, according to Toni Morrison. How do you feel about that? And Barack did it beautifully. I mean, he said, I need to see his dancing ability. I really thought he would say, you mean he's a black man? Hillary, is that true? You know, I mean, only she would know. And, you know, like a dozen other women. Sorry, Democrats. But that's, you know, it's true. But, yeah, it was really an ugly thing that they tried to do between that. They kept on trying to bring up race and gender. I'll say this, you know, Bill Clinton did actually advocate for, you know, African Americans. He actually understood redlining and what that was, institutional racism by banks, where if you lived in a certain zip code, you couldn't get a loan. And now he, you know, Edwards really has his brain wrapped around the institutional racism that was the subprime mortgage scam, which is exactly why we're going broke. I mean, everybody has gone broke because of these loans. Banks are going belly up. Insurers of banks are going belly up. Bond insurers are going belly up. And it's got this ripple effect in the whole world. When our economy blows, the whole world blows. And, you know, so we've got this, you know, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates today by 0.75%. This was like the biggest cut in interest rates since October of 1984. You ladies and gentlemen who love Orwell, it is 1984. It is. Big Brother is on the TV screen. We had the 2-minute hate last night. It was just it's amazing. We're at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with East Asia. You know, it's 1984. It's just the most amazing thing. You know, just remember, 1984 was Ronald Reagan. It was the middle of election cycle. You had Ronald Reagan as president. It's so fascinating. The whole thing. It's amazing. You know, so Bush's economic policies have a real chance to compete in the, you know, like if we had sweepstakes for the greatest disaster, George Bush's economic policy, it would be in a tie with his military policy. Do you know what I mean? For worst disaster ever. Well, to be fair, his education policy, his environmental policy, his energy policy, just as bad. But they don't get as much press as the military and the economics. So we have to have a tie for worst disaster, economic and military. It's a tie, everybody. It's a tie. Give everything a chance. Give it some time. See, the military crap, well, we knew that they were incompetent within weeks of the invasion. The results of his economic incompetence are just now coming home to roost. Now comes the economic shock, just like I told you. Didn't I tell you? And didn't I tell you to buy gold? Didn't I? Now, a lot of people can't, but for those who did, smart, right? Okay. Now, we may not see the screw-ups in George Bush's policies in education for years, but that will be the truly lasting legacy of George Bush, believe it or not. And what's the White House saying today? Believe it, I mean, we're going to go over the debate. I'm going to play you, because, you know, all three of the candidates on the Democratic side, they have an economic plan, and they are different, although Barack is accusing Hillary of copying him. Oh, God. But Dana Perino, the White House spokesmodel today, she said, Americans should be confident. And I really thought she was going to say that they have maps. I did. They have maps, and they can find South Africa on their maps. Americans can. Oh, I thought she was Miss South Carolina. They're tied for the worst disaster ever. But she said Americans should be confident that the long-term health of the American economy remains strong. Yeah, because your boss leaves in a year. That's what you meant, isn't it, Dana? Oh, it's such a bust, man. It's such a bust. The economy is a house of cards, and it's made out of credit cards, and they're all overextended. But at least they did, you know, at the beginning, the debate started out nice. Hillary, what's your economic plan? Barack Obama, what's your economic plan? Edwards, and they all had one.